Welcome back, Steve. Come back from the UK after a successful Motocross of Nations. Motocross of Nations or Des Nations? I get confused.
It's Motocross of Nations, now.
So when did that change?
A fair few years ago, they took the Des out, more of the French, and made it more English with Of Nations.
Motocross of Nations. So I get confused. It's like Tour de France.
Yeah.
I've heard some people say, oh, it's the Tour of France. But anyway, so look, successful year for Australia. You've been there since day one. So back in the Motocross Des Nations era.
Yep.
Just give us a brief on your history with this sporting event.
Yeah, well, it's been a great road over 40 years, that's for sure, Mel, and coming out winning this year is just magnificent for me. Probably the ultimate part of my career, seriously. People might think winning Mr. Motocross 4 times might have been good back then, but now to win this, to be involved with for 40 years in something, and to be working with the style in Australia of the technique and getting speed up in Australia with AIS camps and my camps over 15 years that I did, I'm really, really pleased with our results. So if we back up a little bit to 84, that was the era that I was sort of on top of my game. Jeff Leask just changed the Honda that year and was kicking everyone's butt. I think I finished 3rd in the series that year, behind Jeff and Vaughan Style. And I said to my friend Len Williamson, I said, Len, why don't we go to the World Teams Motocross Championships for a little bit of a change and let's try to get Australia out there and see how we go. And so Len went, yeah, good idea. He's a real organiser, Len. He's a great guy. Was an A-grade motocrosser himself and a good operator. So we got involved and we raised money and we did the entry. We did it all ourselves. Pelle Gronquist, because it was in Varberg in Sweden. And at that era, there was 125 coupe donations, 250 trophy donations, and 500c motocross donations.
Right.
So we only had the money to go to the trophy donations. So we sent 4 250s over in a container with all the bits and pieces. Pelle Gronquist was in Sweden at the time, so he actually helped us get the bikes out and go through all of that. The team flew to Finland to watch the Motocross of Nations first, to see what happened, see how it ran. Then we flew to, or on a boat actually, come across to Sweden. I did a Supercross the week before, which I can't even remember where I finished, but I did a Supercross in Sweden, and then we went on to the Trophy Donations. And at that Trophy Donations, we had a bit of a problem with, I think it was David Armstrong was one of the members, Trevor Williams, of course, and Vaughan Style, the 4 of us. It was a 4-man team. And David, unfortunately, I think he got a flat tyre and the tyre come off the rim. He couldn't get up one of the hills. She couldn't get the traction. It's quite a steep hill in Varberg in Sweden. So unfortunately, we didn't get to qualify. We went to the B final. The B final was any teams above 40, above 20. 20 go to the main and then the B final. So we ran second in the B final to France. And yeah, we did okay from the word go. Yeah. But then the momentum started. Then we had the want to continue.
So this is 1984.
That's 84, 40 years ago. Yeah. So 85, we got a team together of Leask, Dak, and Bell.
That's a strong team.
Yeah, that was a strong team. And they, unfortunately, Jeff Leask, who was on the top of his game at that stage, he crashed and hurt his back. Finished up in the Galda hospital, which was a real bummer. So we got classified really as a non-finisher because we didn't get 5 finishes. Yeah. And that's when it went to Motocross of Nations, when there was 125, 250, 500, all in the same day. They changed it in 85. So we sort of bombed out that year and
so you went purely as a management role then?
Then I went as an assistant. Lenny was the team manager, and then I just went to assist and help out and do what I could do to help the team. There's some funny stories along the way. I'll tell you this one because it's just quite funny. That particular year, we had the bikes all set up and we had to be in the park for May and scrutinise the bikes by a certain time on the Sunday morning of the race meeting before the race. It could have been Saturday morning. It's a long time ago, so bear with me on my memory. Had a lot of hits along the way, mind you. And so I think it was Saturday, we got to the track, the bikes were all in the back of the Yamaha van that Gary Ben, who's the team manager of Yamaha in Europe, he loaned us. So the Japanese mechanic that put it all away, he wasn't there. And he had the key to the van. So we're going, we need it, we've got to get the bikes to scrutiny, otherwise we wouldn't have made the race. Yeah. So we cut the hinges on the outside of the Mercedes van and lifted the door off, got the bikes out, So then for years, the Euros would say to Gary Ben, yeah, I know how to fix it, just cut the hinges off it. So it was a real...
That's good.
Gary always remembers that he got the piss taken out of him for so long about that situation, but we had to do it to make the race. Anyway, that was that year, and it went on the next year. We're in... I won't go into every year's history, but the next year we were at Unadilla, and it was a mud race, and one of Bob Hanna's last races, he did really well in the 125. And that had some funny times to it too. That had a lot of, I got so many stories about all of those, but we won't go into all that because I'll be here all day.
So were you at the one with Johnny? There's a legendary one of Johnny O'Mara on a 125.
Yes, actually, I jumped forward. I missed 86.
Right.
So 87 was Unadilla, 86 was Maggiora in Italy, and then that was an awesome race. Craig Dack finished second to Ricky Johnson in the 250 overall.
See, as a motocrosser, I don't even know this history.
Yeah.
Other than what I would have flicked through ADB at the time and go, it's cool, but I never really paid much attention to it.
Yeah, well, Jeff Lees didn't ride that year.
Right.
And we had, I forget. I think it was David Armstrong.
Yeah.
Sure, he was on the 500. Glenn Bell on the 125 and Craig on the 250 Yamaha. And like I said, Craig rode really good. And I think we finished sixth that year. But Craig's performance was outstanding. But that was the year that Johnny O'Mara, he was on a 125 CR factory Honda, and he came from behind past Graham Noyce on the factory 500cc Honda on a hilly track, and he passed him just with momentum. Yeah. And then after that, I'd never let anyone say to me that I'm on a 125 and can't go very fast.
Yeah.
That's BS.
Yeah.
He proved it. It says, you're good enough, you can do it no matter what bike you're on.
It's one of the historical moments, I think, of the Motocross of Nations. The story is always told about O'Mara on the 125 beating the boys on the 500.
Yeah, amazing, just amazing.
Yeah.
And roll on a couple of years, Unadilla we did. Then 89 was Ville-Secourt, I think the track name was, in France. And I was managing now. The year before, I took over the management from Len. And Len became the FIM steward. And I became manager. And so all through this era, we did it all ourselves. We raised the money, we did raffles, we did auctions, we did all that sort of stuff. And we didn't have much help from anyone bar what the inner sanctum of the Motocross of Nations committee was. And anyway, we finished fourth in Ville-Secourt, which was a great effort with Leesky, Dacky and Belly. A really good effort that year. And that was really set the tone. And it shows that Australia was batting above its average even back then. You know, we were.
And I was racing at this time, so I was racing motocross in Australia. So that probably makes sense as to why Glenn was back racing 125 state titles and everything. Would that be right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, they were racing Mr. Motocross on 250s.
Yeah.
But I'd see Glenn would turn up and race at Appin in the 125 state championships and say, oh wow, Glenn's on a 125. But I probably didn't realise he was prepping for
that, and he just rode 125 as well. Yeah. Like he won more Australian titles than anyone on a 125. And that added to, he won more Australian titles than anyone.
Sorry, Glenn, I should know all
this. It's well, John Steindes over in WA, the history of Australian motocross, he put all this together. Right. And Glenn is probably, as far as points to do with the national championships that happened, he pointed, I think, a certain amount for 1, 2, 3, and Glenn is the number one. Okay. So good on him. He did well, and so that year we finished fourth, which was really good, and then it went on. And I lost track of it a little bit from 93 on. My last year was in Czechoslovakia in 93. 92 I was team manager in Manjiva, where we had Jason Marshall, Dale Britton and Kim Ashkenazi in the sand over at Manjiva, sand and hard.
WA boys.
And that was, probably what comes from that is the classic picture of Emig. Remember that picture? He's hit the berm and he's just horizontal to the ground. It was just an iconic picture. And that was really special.
I think Jason Gypsy Tales did a podcast with Jeff, and they refer to that photo. I think they talk about it. And I think maybe on the podcast they might have put the image up or something. And awesome. Jeff talks about it as being one of the most iconic race photos that he's ever had.
Just so good. And anyway, after that, after Czechoslovakia the next year, I went over as coach of the team, and then Gary Ben came back from Europe. And Gary was the team manager of Team Yamaha in Europe. So he knew everyone in the park from it was silly to even think about staying on as the role. Gary, you do this, you know everyone. Because at that stage, we weren't getting much help. We were providing it ourselves. We're taking our own bikes or getting second-hand bikes and taking our suspension, maybe some engine parts. We weren't prepped. It wasn't professional. So Gary made it more professional. And Gary, let's face it, from the second year of it, has been an intrinsic member of the team.
Right.
Every year, Gary Ben's been working hard at it. And then from 86 as well, actually 85, Mark Lutzig has been the man as well. Those two guys have put more effort into the Motocross of Nations than anyone.
With no noise.
With no noise, and putting their own time, sometimes their own money, which Mark Lutzig does just quietly, doesn't say anything. But both those guys, of course, like me, love the sport in Australia, and we're prepared to do nearly most anything that it takes to get a result.
It's so interesting. So I know Mark really quite well. I've known Mark well from the 80s. And I've never spoken to Gary because I've been at a lot of races where he is, but he's just such a quiet spoken in the background guy, and I never knew he was so instrumental. And I knew Mark was involved, but not to that degree, because he'd never spoke. He'd never talk about, I'm doing this and working on this. It's like he's just...
He is a quiet achiever.
Yeah.
They're both quiet achievers.
Yeah, and that's really admirable on both their parts.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Because, mate, I'd be dancing in the streets.
Yeah, I was dancing after last weekend, that's for sure. But yeah, because I took a bit of a hiatus from going there for a lot of years because I was so busy with my schooling around the country, and Yamaha was expecting a certain amount, so I was out travelling and I didn't really get a chance to go. But I went to isolated ones. But you know, now the Lawrence's era is back, and we stand a really good chance. And you know, like for me, back in the day when I came back from America the first time in 1980, you know, we brought a lot of technique, a lot of professionalism back, and techniques on the bike, and eating, drinking, all the different sports science aspects. And then, you know, we brought that into training. My schools at Doug, we did advanced schools, we took that across the country. Then the AIS started, the Institute of Sport in Canberra, our top Institute of Sport. And then in Henry Daigle, who was the boss of MA, or ACU at that particular time, just before MA took over, he said, I've come from basketball, I reckon we can get into the AIS with a motorcycling group. So I went, yeah, good. So I was the first one there with our group, and we started. So from 93, I think it was, or 94 to 2016, we went every year with many groups. Whether it was enduro, whether it was the girls' motocross, whether it was road race, whether it was
just
dirt track, the AIS camps, motocross, of course. Then it went down to a 2-week camp where we'd have motorcycle riding involved in it. Physiologists like Tim Cole, who was training Yamaha and KTM, he would come along and help, and other notable trainers would come along, Lyndon Heffernan and other really good guys. And, you know, that's helped lift the standard of our sport. And well, I'm so proud to see Australia get to where it is, and I feel so good to be a small part of making that all happen. You know, like, it's just warm inside of me, and I tear up sometimes about it. You know?
Yeah, but then you've got to perhaps give yourself a little more credit that the conversation in 1984, that is your role. If you look at what your biggest role is, it's initiating from day one.
Yeah.
From day one. So 96, 97, 2017, whatever, it still goes back to that conversation in 1984. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's go and have a go, and let's get Australia out in the world map and have a bit of a go. You know, there's others like Laurie Alton that went to America before that, and there wasn't much representation of Yamaha of Australia before that. So yeah, it was good to get out there and do it, and proud of those first years, and particularly proud of the effort that Lenny and I put into it, and others that helped us through that time, particularly Mark, particularly Gary Ben, and many others, of course. But then going on to the new era with what we've done, you know, we got thirds one year with Metcalf, Chad Reed, I hate forgetting names, and it wasn't Jeff. I'm really sorry, whoever it is, but we got third another year. We got a few fourths, got some fifths and sixths. So we've been batting around the edges, and then a few years ago I was at Redbud for the Motocross of Nations at Redbud. That was in 16, 17, 18, maybe 19. Lose track of years now. And we were winning Hunter Road, an awesome 250 race. Almost won the race. First 250, we were in front going to the last race. but you never count your chickens before they hatch with Motocross of Nations, because anything can happen. And of course, the next race we didn't do as well, so we didn't win that year. But then moving on from that, 3 years ago, we got third in Italy. Then and the Italians won, their home country.
Oh, wow.
Then last year in America, we got second in the home country. The Americans won. France won last year, at Ernay. And for everyone too, a little bit of insight here, Ernay, that was the best race meeting, even crowd-wise, of what I just did last weekend over in England at Mantley Basin. The French go off. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Chainsaws, engines, air horns, flares in the air, noise, music. It's just on, I tell you. And prepare to take, if you're a bit older, prepare to take some earmuffs because you get beaten up.
Yeah.
Or spend the money, go in the VIP Platinum area and just enjoy it. It's the best place to be. But heads up, not next year. It's in Ironman in Crawford, Indiana, Crawfordsville, near Indianapolis. But the year after, it's back in Ernay in France. So if you're thinking about a good one, both the next two are going to be awesome.
I'm thinking of the France one. Yeah, we're going to try and slip a little side trip into Italy and take Di back to see some rallies. But yeah, I think we're talking about the other night. I've got to go to one.
Yeah.
After watching it on TV the other day, it's like, yeah, I've got to be trackside for one of these. So could I ask the question, what was the... So at this event with the Hunter boys and how good... Hunter and Jett, the Lawrence boys, how good they've been going... Was there any, what was the vibe from other teams? Did they sort of picture us as a threat?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of rumours. Even before the race, I was talking to DaCosta, the man, Roger DaCosta, the day before.
So running Team
Actually,
America.
we'll run some photos along with this and I'll send you that photo as well.
Yeah.
And we were right near the American and right near the Alpine Star hospitality area. We're all using that. And he said the Lawrence boys, they're a real worry to us.
Right.
That's what he said to me. And so many people, Jamie Dobb, all sorts of people said, yeah, you guys are in there with a big chance this year. And I knew it too, but I wasn't going to say too much because I didn't want to, put too much kudos on the whole thing, thinking we're going to win it, because so many things happen. And Australia's had a lot of bad luck over the years at Motocross of Nations. There's no doubt about that.
So let's draw a line in the sand with the history of the Des Nations. So we're going back to 1984. You've been there pretty much
a lot of them
through 80% of them.
Yep.
We're now 2024. We're perhaps, because we were second last year, we've got the Hunter, I keep saying the Hunter boys. Hunter and Jett both doing amazingly well overseas in America. We've got Kyle dominating here in Australia. I mean, Jett, they were close, but Kyle was it was awesome to see him ride this year.
Yeah.
You've gone over to this event. There's a lot of pressure on these guys. There's also a lot of pressure put on Kyle, especially, I could well imagine. And let's just go through the preparation leading up to 2024. So we ride every week. So we ride moto every single week. And what I can say is I've seen how much passion comes from Steve in organising and how much he's devoted his time and a lot of your personal time and personal life to fundraising for this event this year. And I guess one thing I want to address is people know Hunter and Jett are making good money. They must go, why do they need money to go to the Motocross of Nations?
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, what was the budget needed to go race this event? What roughly do you think it needs to get Australia to this event?
We were figuring 130 to 150,000.
Okay. Yeah.
So a lot of money. We had to, just a little bit about that, we had to ship all of HJC personnel. That means team manager, 3 mechanics, because we've got a factory bike for Kyle on the 250, a suspension technician, an engine technician, 6 bikes over there, accommodation, food, all those things had to be covered by Australia. And then, we've got our select team, and then we've got a lot of other costs, along the way. The entry costs and many other things that people don't know about. So the budget's high.
So 150.
Yeah, that was what we were over budgeting a little bit.
And what are your thoughts then on if someone goes, well, why don't the riders just pay? If they want to represent Australia, why wouldn't they But it's just an unreal, like the boys have just done 31 races. Like if you had the choice of not wanting to, you know, they would probably rather stay at home on the lounge, but the opportunity was to represent their country. Yeah. So I don't think the Olympic athletes shouldn't have to dip into their pocket to go and compete in the Olympics, regardless of how much money they're making in any of their chosen sports. And the same as these boys, they shouldn't have to. No. You know, and then you go, well, where do you draw the line? So you've got Kyle racing in Australia, winning Australian championships, not earning the money that those guys are making. So then it's not fair that he should have to contribute out of his income to go represent our country. So I think it's so important that people understand the reality of it, that it's a money sport. It takes money to get the teams there. Honda, you know, they're I guess letting them use the bikes, and but still they're not going to pull money out of their pocket to ship the bikes there. No. And the country still has to do that.
A big plus, and we don't do it for the ride, we do it for Australia.
Yeah, correct.
You know, like I do it for Australia because it's my passion to win that race. And sure, it's great to have the excellent riders and the best guys, but we'd never expect the Lawrence boys to put in any money, or Kyle for that matter, because like you say, there's a big differential in money that they get, like huge differential.
And let's even bring up just the national pride thing. Okay, so like Jett is a global superstar now of this sport. But what I really love about it is when he's introduced on the American Supercross, it's still Sunny Coast. Yeah. He still claims the Sunny Coast. And it's like, you know, he's not saying he's from somewhere in Florida or wherever. It's Sunshine Coast.
He's not speaking like an American either.
Yeah. He did a video today. He did a video today in his little Audi sports car. It's the best thing I have seen Jett do. And he's talking about that they're a great car, but they're not real practical, and his girlfriend's in the passenger seat, and he's bought a boogie board or a surfboard, and there's nowhere to put luggage, so he's got it all piled up on top of her, and it's the funniest thing. And I go, that's showing us Aussies, just Jett's still Jett. He's like he's just like a kid. It's like it's just an Aussie kid.
He is. He's really human when it comes down to all those things, but he gets on a motorcycle and he's alien.
The other great thing that I saw was someone had a video of when the boys came over the finish line, and Jett came over. And he came second to Geyser with that amazing last race battle. And Jett questioned whether, we won? Like, we won the whole thing? And he was so excited. And it's like that there demonstrated what it meant to him. It wasn't just, like, he wanted to win the race without doubt, but you could see the importance of what it meant. And then Hunter came in, and they shared the victory there together, probably not knowing that
I've got that footage to give you too.
Oh, okay. And I think I'll drop that video footage in here. And I think it's one of the most amazing bits of video footage of just two brothers realising they've won an amazing sporting event for their country. Yeah,
they wanted to do it for Australia, there's no doubt about that. They were so upset last year in France when they ran second. Yeah. They were really upset, and they said next year we're going to try really, really hard. And
Jensen! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Fuck you, boys! Yes. Fucking Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Fucking champion, boys! Fuck!
Hats off to HRC too for doing what they did. You know, not only did they give us a factory 250 for Kyle to ride, but they also gave him that 250 for 10 days or 2 weeks prior to going there, another one to ride to get used to the factory bike. They sent a factory mechanic there to help out a little bit, even though we had another Australian over there, Craig Bolton, a good mate of Kyle's, to help him, because Kyle went to America straight after the last round at QMP of the Pro Motocross here in Australia. And even though his hand was sore, he still trained and was around the Lawrence boys all that time. Then the last month he rode and got used to the 250. So, you know, that was another expense we had to put up with as far as Australia's concerned. But we had the policy this year, we're not going to shortcut anywhere. Cost more money, we find it, we put the best possible effort, and look what happened, we won the race.
The other thing too, the Joe Shimoda story. So Joe was injured, so couldn't ride for Japan. So that's how that bike became available. Is that correct?
I heard that they put together that bike for Kyle from bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I just overheard that from Lars, the HRC team manager.
Yeah.
But who knows? It doesn't really matter. It was a factory bike.
Yeah.
And Kyle had a big smile on his face. The thing was fast, as you can imagine. Those factory bikes are.
Yeah.
He's ridden other well-tuned 250s when he was in his 250 era, and he said this was a better bike again. So good on him.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So take me through what your main role was this year. So 2024, what was your role leading up to it? So I know that you were instrumental in fundraising. I think anyone that's been to any Australian motocross event this year would have seen Steve there, jerseys, fundraising events, etc. Probably one of the most disappointing things was the amazing coaching day that was organised, and for some reason it didn't hit the mark and we didn't get entries. And we're going to do one of them next year.
Yeah, I'll run through that quickly. We're going to do a junior school in WA, South Australia, Vic, New South Wales and Queensland, using iconic people, instructors along the way, the Metcalfs in South Australia, the Beatons and Kyle Webster in Victoria, which can't get much better than that. Haven't talked to you yet, but if Ando sees this, Craig Anderson, I'm going to be hitting you up to do a school. And in Queensland, we've got Joel Evans and brother Reardon.
Luke.
Yeah, Luke Reardon.
Yeah.
So good on those guys putting their hand up. They'll all do it for free for the country. And we're going to run one-day schools mainly for juniors.
Yeah.
Okay, just a junior school, one-day school. All the money will go to Motocross of Nations. I'm sure the clubs will donate the facilities. We're going to put that together. I'm going to start on that real soon.
Yeah.
The other thing to let everyone know about is next year I'm going to be at every round of the Pro Motocross. This time with the 6x3 quick shade, green and gold, to support Australia written on top of it, so you can't miss me. And we're going to have a range of clothing. So Todd Waters put together a T-Dub, really good range this year. A lot of supporters, you'll see in the pictures that you see. It was awesome stuff. And our green and gold stood out better than anyone in the paddock and the Park from over there. So we're going to sell a replica of all of that as well.
Yeah.
So we'll start that from the round one at Wonthaggi in March and run through all the rounds.
Fantastic.
And I've even hit you up, Mel, for the later rounds. So
Yeah.
we're going to go on a bit of a holiday and I mightn't be at the last couple of rounds, but I'll hit Mel up to go and represent us and do that for us.
Taking one for the team, I'll be in the tent. Problem is I tend to talk a bit more than Steve, so
yeah.
you might have to nudge me if someone's lining up.
You get that. but that's all right.
And how good of Todd? So how many teams was Todd in?
I can't see exactly, but 3 or 4 years of it, and so it's in Todd's heart to be involved.
Awesome.
And he was right up into the school we were doing this time, but it unfortunately got canned through lack of entries, which was a shame. But you get that. But yeah, so the build-up's been really good this year. And go back to your question, my position in it.
Yeah.
Well, the team is 3 riders. The HRC team of what I just said, mechanics, the bikes, suspension, engine technician. Team manager, of course, Lars Larson. And then the other team at the track is Gary Ben and Michael Byrne, who's been the team manager for years. And Gary's been the team manager for a lot longer. But he stepped aside and let Michael, because he's younger and he knows the guys better, but he still works with Michael on the day.
Okay.
And so does Michael Lutzich. He's in there a little bit. I don't say anything to that side of it. I don't get involved because... you know, you've got to have respect, and I might have respect with Kyle, but the Hunter boys, Hunter and Lawrence and Jett don't know me, so no problem. I don't get involved, and I don't want... It's my policy, if someone asks me to advise, I talk. If they don't, I don't say anything, because you've got to have respect to let it absorb. And so let them do it. They did a great job, which they always have. So the home funding area is Jeff Leask, myself, and Mark Lutzich. Of course, we run under the control of MA. We always run everything bar Peter Doyle at MA, and Peter's doing a great job. He was there this year because he had to be there for an FIM Congress the week after. So he was there to see us win, so that was really good. The first time a CEO of MA has been there to the Motocross of Nations.
Yeah.
So that went really, really well. And but that's the team. That's all that's involved, and just isolated help here and there. And we've had a lot of great donations of people who helped this year. For instance, a president of a club, Mick Hickson, in the Maitland Newcastle area, you know, he stepped in and paid some money to help Kyle get to America. Other people have bought, you know, things for way above the price, just to help. You know, Brett Konski from Konski Mining, he paid $5,000 for a jersey, you know, frame.
Oh, was that the QMP auction?
No, that was $3,000. He bought one for $3 and one for $5.
I saw the one for $3,000 go.
So look, he just chipped in. He just helped Australia. And without all those people, Andrew from KMC Graphics Kid Prizes, you know, Kevin Titman from he gave us wheels. I could go on and on, but people were just so fantastic, giving donations and making our team work, and it did.
Yeah, that's great. So, all right, so let's go to the day. You landed in the UK how many days before the event?
Got in Wednesday lunchtime, so Wednesday was casual, Thursday at the track, just getting stuff together. Friday the riders arrived, more action, a lot more people around.
And you and Jeff organised the VIP?
Yeah, Jeff's big thing was getting a tour together with Latitude Travel, Nick at Latitude Travel in Sydney. He's had a lot of previous work with him when he was the CEO of KTM. And so he hooked him up. We put the advertising out, filled in 2 weeks, the 40 places really, really quickly. Finished up with 41 on tour. Great bunch of people. They loved it. We learned a lot from that tour. We're going to make it better next year. But next year is going to fill up so fast. Like, people are going to be busting their butts to get to it. We're probably going to expand the tour a little bit next year, but there's only so many we can do. So I reckon it's going to be 50 next year. We're also talking next year about the tour. We're on that subject of having a platinum VIP area where you go in the platinum area where you get all your drink, all your feed, you're away from everyone, you get the best vantage point. Then there's a gold VIP area where you've got another good high area, not quite as good viewing, but still good. So we're going to do one for there. And I want greedy-wise, I know Jeff's probably a little bit nervous in this, but I want to do like a regular entry. And they probably won't get to see the team, but they're in there, they get green and gold with their entry, they know they're supporting the team a little bit with a little bit of money of their entry goes towards the team.
Average Joe.
And that's right, and they're still supporting the team, they know they're behind the team. You know, some of those people that supported the team, they were at the race this year, like Hickson for instance, and he was so pumped when Kyle got his 12th place in that first moto and he was leading the MX2. He was running around because he was involved, you know. Pardon me. So by being involved by that little bit that you put in, you get immersed in it all, you know, and you want to see Australia win, and it's a great feeling. It really is.
So let's just zip to race one.
One.
Where were you? Where were you standing? Where were you watching?
I'm in the VIP. There's 70 Australians in the VIP, 40 tour and 30 others.
We've got photos of that.
Got the presentation or the winning photos. There's some of them, not 70, but some of them. And we talked to the organisers at MotoGP. Pardon me. And we got all the Aussies put down one end of it. So we're all cheering and barracking at the same time. And the big screen's right in front of us down there. It was just the best viewing point. And so we're all there. The pits and area is like a zoo. There's so many people. You can't get near the start. So we come from the park for May, and you know, us main people got into the pit area. We're in there, but we don't get in the faces of the riders. They're in their truck doing their thing as they do. The Lawrences, they're stars. They're rock stars. They can't go outside. They just get mobbed. You know, they really do. People say to me, "Oh, can you get a cap signed?" I went, forget it. I said, I can't even do that, let alone you. I said, there's no way that you're going to get it. Anyway, the boys are good, but they've got to stay away from it. Otherwise, they just get mobbed. They get no time to themselves. So we got up to the main viewing area for the first race. And the first race, they gave Kyle the best starting position on the inside, being on the 250 and the Honda 250, the HRC machine. It was fast. And he gated really well. And if you watch the start, he fell back a little bit, but he dove to the inside when everyone drove to the outside and came out the first 250.
Wow.
So we're all pumped. Yay, go, Kyle.
Was he 8th or something on the first couple of laps?
He was right up there. He was the first 250. There was legends in front of him, you know. of the sport, and he was the first 250, and De Wolf passed him eventually. Yeah. Langerfelder passed him, I think. He finished up 12th, and Hunter started outside. He had a much more of a battle to get to the front, but as Hunter does, he put his head down and just worked his way forward, got through to 11th at the end, one position in front of Kyle, and that was good. 11 and 12 was good to start with. And then the second moto, Jett's there with Kyle again, and Jett's story was he starts really good, but Ruben Fernandez from Spain, he was riding really good, and he was very fast in qualifying as well, actually second to Jett. He got the start, Jett followed him, and as Jett does, he follows and susses it out, and he decides to go, and when he goes, he goes.
Yeah.
He just, as the team manager, Lars says, the kid's alien.
Yeah.
He just pulls the pin, and because he's got such good technique, and I learnt this from Darren Lawrence, that they work on technique all the time. There's a story for you riders about technique, and most of the time, he rides at 80%. And when he wants to pull the pin, in contrast to someone like Eli Tomac, that's on the main Jett 95% most of the time, and not much more left, he pulls the pin and can go. Then settles down once he gets a gap, as you can see.
And drops back to his 80%.
As you've seen in races up until now. So he decided to go, so he went, pulled the lead, sat there comfortably, won the race nicely. But poor Kyle had a much different race. I actually talked to him just as I was coming here for about 20 minutes. He's up at the Queensland Supercross watching, and he started okay and was right up near the front, but then he got hit in the goggles. This is what I've just learned. Split his tear off, and his roll off. So he had to call into a pit area. Little story to digress a little bit for a second. The New Zealand team in the B final, one of their members, I don't know who, went to the pits to get goggles rather than the pit area for goggles, and they got disqualified.
Oh, right.
So that's why they didn't make the main. Otherwise, there would have been the 20th team to make the Motocross of Nations final 3 races. Anyway, so Kyle goes into the pit allocation for goggle replacement, gets changed, goes back out again, loses 4 or 5 places, starts to go forward again, but the goggles started to fog on him. He said, I don't know why, but they started to fog on him. And then in a couple more laps, he started to go forward a little bit. They were fogging, he couldn't see. And the track at this stage was rut city. It was really
because they don't prep the track between races.
Only the start. Typical motocross in Europe, which I think is really smart. They clean up the start straight, the first corner, and the next straight for safety. I think it's totally a good idea. And then he goes forward again, and then gets hit in the hand, which required stitches, so it was a good hit. And then he's got hit in the hand, he's got fog on the goggles, he's got a technical track, so he just backed down just to make sure he finished. And he finished, I did look at it a second ago, 18th or 19th. 18th in the race, which was still a good place. Remember, there's 40 riders in the race.
And they can drop one race.
We can drop one, so that was the one we dropped. So then the third race comes to, the misty rain is falling again, the track's getting a little bit slicker. So now we've got the Lawrence boys up there, we're all on a high. Where...
Can I ask here, who made the decision on where the riders, because from my point of view watching it, Hunter got the better starting position and Jett was given the...
That would have been done with Gary Benn, Michael Byrne and Lars Larson with consultation of the riders. So
I'd imagine the theory would have been they're both going to start well, but Jett may have more ability to charge through.
Which was proven. And Hunter.
And didn't he charge through? I mean, my God.
Mate, what a ride! And so they started as you did. Hunter got a better start than Jett, and although Jett pulled it out of the bag again and rode really good, he was right up, I think, in 7th or 8th on the first few corners, and just amazing. That kid's amazing. I tell you what, he's just.
Did you think Netherlands had won it? midway through the day, were you going, I think Netherlands?
Look, I was trying not to say it, but I had my fingers crossed that we were going to get it, as we all were.
Yeah.
You know, there was air horns in the Aussie pits as the riders go past and blasting and cheering. And, and I'm a bit of a quiet achiever when it comes to all sorts of stuff. So I'm sitting just quietly thinking, oh, I hope nothing goes wrong. Because so many years things have gone wrong, you know, and then nothing went wrong and they crossed the line and we're all just in raptures up there. And as you'll see some photos in the VIP area, we didn't even try to get down to the park, to the winning rostrum area, because it just was a zoo. They knocked down fences and the crowd came in. It was a zoo. But if you look at some of my pictures, you'll see Aussie flags up. There's blown up kangaroos, which we had in our area, and it was, we had a blown up kangaroo in multiple places in the pit area, and all of the American mechanics all wore Australian green and gold. So we were represented. I had so many people go, hey, golly, how good did Australia do it this year? And this is one of the things that our team wanted to see. We wanted people to be in green and gold, as we do next year, because Australia was obvious. We were out there. You can see us.
You know, it was really good. Weege does the Weege show, and he's walking through the pit area, and he walked into a bunch of Aussies, and they were just going off.
Yeah.
And he was like, whoa. I think he was taken aback by how boisterous a bunch of Aussie boys
could be. There was some good ones.
I
got some pictures, actually. There was
Jason Weigert, that is.
Yeah, there was two guys that came to our screen in the front of our pit area, and it was raining, so the screen's rough, and they're in singlets, and as cold as it's 13 degrees or something, and they're in singlets, like with Australia written across their singlet. They're going for it. They've got a brisky in their hand, and anyway, I got a lot of photos that Mal will show you too of different Australians with different gear on, and it was so cool. So cool.
It's the sort of fucking shit these boys are going to ride in, mate. Fucking hell.
Yeah, we'll delay the race, just carry on. Yeah, they'll have to wait. That's it, you got one more shot. Second one coming up, big finish. Oh, oh, oh. So good, so good, so good.
Sedicesimo di Buonaccorsi e nel 20esimo di Eterno la classifica, la Novanda non vede davanti, ma presenta gli scarti naturalmente, 34 punti, 35 nel USA, 30 l'Australia, 41 Francia, 40. I got a nice fresh one. There we go.
You ready, boys? Hold on.
That's the cleanest thing you put your mouth on. USA! USA! On ya, boys!
Ladies and gentlemen, now to present the Monster Energy Trophy, Mr. Tim Lott for 18-year president.
So 40 years, your emotion when you know
Oh,
when Hunter's come across the line, you see the points and you go,
I had a
there's one
tear. I had multiple tears in my eyes, I tell you. Like, I'm a pretty tough individual when it comes to being hurt, and I've got up from a lot of injuries, and I've only ever left the track once in an ambulance, and I usually get up and go. But this time I cried, I really did.
Buckled.
I'm a bit down too. It's special.
Yeah, that's so good. And Mark, how was Mark?
He was the
And
same.
Gary? Yeah.
Gary wasn't there because he was in the pits, but first thing I went to Mark, gave him a big hug because my wife wasn't there.
Yeah.
I rang her straight away, woke her up 2 o'clock in the morning. We won!
Yeah. Hey, I've got to say here as well, I was away working and I had my phone switched on, but I couldn't watch it till Monday morning. So I stayed off my phone, I stayed off any social media, and I go, Steve, please don't ring me or please don't send me a Facebook message because I don't want anything, because I didn't get home till 1 in the morning. I waited till 7 in the morning, came in, and I just watched all 3 motos Monday morning. And so I literally, in my mind, it was live.
Yeah.
And I just went, don't get in touch with me, please don't, because I thought, if I get a message from him, I know what it's going to be. But then, so... and then the after, like when it's all done and you've won.
Yeah. Well, we went down to the pits and the riders had to go to a press conference.
Yeah.
We didn't even see them for like 45 minutes afterwards. But in the pits, you'll see these pictures. The US mechanics and the Australian guys are doing shoeies with their dirty old boots they've just finished the race with. And Kyle come into the pits before the Lawrence boys and they all mobbed him. And you'll see in the video that I give you, it goes, I give him a big hug and the camera goes up against him at the time. And because I've had a lot to do with Kyle over the years. I trained him as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old kid, and when he was a Yamaha special guy back in the day in WA. And so he's such a nice person, Kyle. I tell you, if you don't know him, he's just a beautiful individual.
Yeah.
Thank you, pleases to everyone. He's got gorgeous parents and he's just really a nice guy. So
how much pressure was
oh,
he on?
mate, I was just talking to him about that, and he's so happy to be at the Supercross. He doesn't have to ride.
Yeah.
The pressure's off. He said he went for a run this morning with Jaden, his wife to be, and he said I felt so good just to cruise along, have no pressure on me. He said because you imagine the pressure was enormous for Kyle. He had the Lawrence boys that were known to be just the best in the world. We had a chance to win the Motocross of Nations. And here I am, I'm a young Australian that I haven't really proved myself overseas much, although he did at Aston a few years ago. He rode really, really well. And here I am to support these guys, and they're relying on me for a good place. And he did that in that first race.
As a rider that's never done anything of that scale, you just go, what a lot of pressure on his shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
And it must have been a relief for him to get a good result, to get a good start. And I wonder at what point in that race did the pressure disappear and he just went, right, let's just ride this thing.
Yeah, well, that's what everyone told him, not me, but others would have said, mate, it's just, and that's how you have to react. It's just another race.
Yeah.
It's not the Motocross of Nations. You've got to do what you do best. Go through your sequence of what you do. Don't think about anything outside of what you can control. And I learned that over so many years at the Institute of Sport, you do what you can control, not what you can't control. And that's what people think about. They think about the win. They think about how I'm going to win, crossing the line, celebration dinners.
We both mountain bike, and you go, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree.
Yeah, and then you hit the tree. Yeah, well, sports psychology is actually really simple.
Yeah.
If you can lock it into how it should be, it's not hard at all. To be a really good sports psychologist, there's tricks, but the basic sports psychology is not that hard. And Kyle did have trouble with that in the early days, but now he's on top of it. Saturday, he had a bit of a worry. He had 2 falls in the qualifier. Guy fell in front of him in a rut. He ran into the back of him, and we didn't do... But he still qualified, but he didn't do as well as he could have because he started right near the front. He was like at the front at one stage. We went, oh, wow! But then he had some bad luck, but he got the monkey off his back on Saturday, and he bought Sunday there, and he knew what he had to do, and he did it well.
I really think, like me watching it, I'm just going, his role was so much pressure and so important for the result that he yielded. I think he should be given a lot of credit for what he achieved there. Yeah, I've never met him. I don't know Kyle. I don't know the Lawrence boys, but you know, I know the mentality it takes to be a racer, and I know a lot of guys, you know, obviously like yourself and Glenn and Jeff Leask, and I know that there's a different mindset that you have, and we're going to do another talk on that on another day. But yeah, for him to do that, and I think it'll take a while, genuinely take a while to settle into him, into his own mind as to how important that role was, and just how good he did. Because there's a big bright light next to him of the two Lawrence boys. That he's
the enormity of the situation is starting to sink in.
That's fantastic.
He's sort of saying that it's the best thing in my life that's ever happened to me this year particularly. And let's face it, Kyle's been through some bad times. Not many of you would know this, but he got hit in the back years ago with the 125 in a supercross race. He's got stainless steel this long down the thoracic aspect of his back with pins into his vertebrae keeping him together. He's still out there doing it.
That's my daughter. I've shown you my daughter has 13 vertebrae that are refusal. I didn't know that.
Mate, he's tough, I tell you. To be out there doing what he did, knowing that he could probably either end his life or put himself permanently in a wheelchair with what he's got in his back. He is a tough individual. He may not show it, but that boy, and it's in his heart. He wants to win. I've trained with him. I've done a lot with him. He's an animal when it comes to backing up to doing it again. He just wants to do it, you know.
So 2025 fundraising literally starts soon.
Yep.
How are people going to get in touch with, like, to get onto the Leesky tour? So Jeff's going to organise that again. What's the channel? How do they get focused into that to book their ticket?
Well, I'd like to say but this is all in the melting pot too, to get an individual.
Mainly Facebook. Will it be driven on Facebook?
Yeah, mainly on Facebook. That will be driven by a proper page on Facebook.
Okay.
Maybe Motocross of Nations, Australian Motocross of Nations support. And I'm looking to try to looking out there in the world to get a marketeer to help us, because Jeff Leask, Mark Lutzige and myself aren't marketeers. You know, we can do a lot of things, we've got a lot of contacts, we can pull things together, but we're not that good, we're old, we can't put social media things together as well as a younger person can. So
jump on board. Someone get in touch with me, get in touch with Steve. If you see us at QMP and you're into online marketing, come and see it, and you want to throw your some help in.
Yeah, we'd love it.
Get in touch.
We'd love it. And so we want to get that going. We want to get Paige to advertise the tour next year, which I'll tell you right now, we're going to give the 40 that went this year the first option, as you do when people start off with something. They'll get the first option. It's going to be tough next year because those first 40, they loved it. You know, with the win this year, they had a great time. So they all know it's going to be in it. We told them they're going to get preference a year ahead of when it will come out. So we'll get that out early in the year, but we also want to have the gold VIP area too, and maybe another one. So look out for that. We'll spread the word on social media of people, and I know I will on my Facebook. It's something to get really good response to, and you will, I know, Mal. So that's really great. And we'll get the tent going at all of the big races as much as time that I can give to that. Fortunately, I'm retired now, and I can put more time to this. This is my want to do this. I'm canning a lot of things that I don't really want to do this in the future, because I want to see Aussie maybe win it for a few years. So I'll put in a big effort. Jeff's moved back to WA. It's a bit harder for him, but I know he'll do it remotely. Mark Lutzige has always got his heart in it, and he'll put as much time as he can. But he's got a mega business to run. I'm amazed how much time Mark Lutzige puts into it. Really am. He you know, people don't realise what he does and the money he spends himself to make it happen.
He's the most timeless guy I know. I knew Mark. Like, met him when he was managing Glenn back in the 80s, and I see him now and it's like, mate, you haven't changed. You haven't changed one little bit.
Well, that's because he's fit and healthy. He runs all the time.
He's just a great guy. I have a lot of respect for Mark. And hey, look, let's wrap it up on that. I think one of the most touching things that I got out of it is we had a phone conversation the other day, and you said this is literally the highlight of your motorsport career. And anyone that knows of Stephen's history know that it's a pretty good bloody career, and you've lifted this up there. And I actually mentioned that to AJ Roberts the other day. I ran into him at the servo, and I said that to him, and I said, it's probably like him now that he's won his 7 Australian off-road championships and he's one of our most decorated off-road racers. But I go, when Greenie won the Australian off-road champs, that probably meant more to you than your wins. He goes, yeah, it did. And I said, well, that imagine 40 years of build-up. So, mate, let's wrap it up. Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you everyone out there.
And congratulations to Team Australia. And I'll be there in 2026. Maybe next year if I maybe I have to sell one of my bikes and go next year as well. So
you'll do some more training. You should do really, really well, both adventure and motocross, and hopefully be able to make some more money to be there, mate.
Yeah, that's what I've got to work on. So, all right, well, thanks for your time, mate.
Think about our money raising for next year and Marketeer we're looking for, and thank you very much for everyone for love of Australia like I have and Mal has, and see you in the future.
Yeah, all right, everyone. Catch you later. Thank you. Cheers, mate. Done. How long did that go for?